If you've ever considered building an ADU on your property at any point, then you're going to want to watch this video because California just passed some new bills into law that are coming into effect in 2023 that you need to know. Hi, my name's Jackson and I make videos like this to help homeowners like you navigate the complicated world of ADUs. In this video, I'm going to go over 10 total changes, and of those 10 changes, I've separated into 3 separate parts: Goldilocks, Good Cops, and Bad Cops. The Goldilocks changes refers to the height requirements coming into effect in 2023, but there's 3 parts to that, so I'll break that down later in the video. The Good Cop changes refers to less restrictive ADU laws, and the Bad Cop changes refers to defining local permitting agencies and telling them what they have to do and when they have to do it by. And if you stick around to the end, I'll throw in a bonus change coming in 2023 that's going to affect every single California homeowner, and it has nothing to do with ADUs. So let's start with number 1, the Goldilocks changes. So what are the changes? Well, statewide, the most restrictive height that a jurisdiction can put on you when building an ADU is 16 feet tall. They can't put a requirement that's under 16 feet. And 16 feet tall is kind of what we're used to. A statewide exempt ADU is any ADU that's 16 feet tall or shorter, 800 square feet or smaller, and has a 4-foot side and rear yard setback. But they added a section that says if you're within a half-mile walking distance of a public transit stop or a high-quality transit corridor, then you can build up to 18 feet tall. And the last part is that if you're building an attached ADU attached to a 2-story primary dwelling, then you can build up to 25 feet tall. Now, the reason that I called these the Goldilocks changes is because when I spoke with one of our designers at Acton about what's the difference between 16 foot tall, 18 foot tall, and 25 foot tall, he said that 16 foot tall was just a little bit too small to fit 2 stories. Maybe you could fit a storage area or a loft up there, but it's not ideal. Now, 25 feet tall, you can clearly fit 2 stories. So the one up for question is the 18 foot tall ADU. And he said that an 18 foot tall ADU is just right for 2 stories. I've broken the Good Cop changes down into 4 separate parts: setbacks, unpermitted work, fire sprinklers, and demolition. The first change is that front setbacks cannot preclude the construction of a statewide exempt ADU, which this is huge news because front setbacks are typically the most restrictive. We're used to seeing side and rear yard setbacks of around 4 feet, but we've seen front yard setbacks as much as 10, 15, even 30 feet. So that means that coming in 2023, a statewide exempt ADU is any ADU that meets those height requirements that we just talked about, is 800 square feet or smaller, and has a 4-foot side and rear yard setback, which this opens up a lot of opportunities for California homeowners. The second Good Cop change is unpermitted work. If you have unpermitted work on your property that doesn't conform to existing building codes, you no longer have to remedy that work in order to build an ADU, which is huge for a ton of California homeowners that I know that I've talked to personally who were concerned about having to bring unpermitted work up to code and the cost that would take before they could provide housing for a loved one in the way that they wanted to. The third Good Cop change is fire sprinklers. So if you build an ADU, that can no longer trigger the requirement for fire sprinklers in the main home. The fourth and final Good Cop change is demolition. SB 897 says that cities have to administer a demolition permit if the demolition of that garage is in order to construct an ADU. And all these bills will be linked in the description if you have any questions or want to read them for yourself. The last 3 changes that are coming in 2023 that I'm going to discuss in this video are the Bad Cop changes. Now, I didn't call these the Bad Cop changes because they're bad for ADUs or for California homeowners. Quite the opposite, actually. What the Bad Cop changes are is the state of California coming in and saying, hey, look, permitting agencies, this is who you are, this is what you have to do, and this is when you have to do it by. So the first Bad Cop change is it defined permitting agencies as every agency involved in the permitting of an ADU or a junior ADU. So it says, hey, look, when I say permitting agencies, I'm referring to every member who's involved in making sure that an ADU or a junior ADU gets permitted. The second bad cop change, and maybe an even more important change, is it says, hey, permitting agencies, which we just defined as every agency involved in making sure that an ADU gets permitted. You have 60 days to approve or deny an ADU permit. The third bad cop change is that if a city denies an ADU permit, they can't just say no, they have to say why they said no with a complete list of reasons. So, to quickly summarize, we have the 3 Goldilocks changes, the 4 good cop changes, and the 3 bad cop changes. And, as promised, here's change number 11 coming in 2023 that's going to affect every single California homeowner and has nothing to do with ADUs. AB 916 says that if you're converting an interior part of your home into a bedroom, then you no longer need a public hearing. So imagine being able to increase your property value just by framing a couple more walls and maybe adding a bedroom, and your 4-bedroom house could go to a 5-bedroom house if you have the space for it. Now, obviously, this can only be done under specific circumstances, but still, it begs the question, would this be worth it? Would this increase my property value? And for a lot of California homeowners, it may be a viable option. Now, keep in mind that these laws are passed at the state level, but really it's up to your local jurisdiction on how they enforce and interpret these laws. So, my interpretation of these new changes could be a little bit different than your jurisdiction, so keep that in mind. If you want more information about ADUs and how you could work with Acton, then check out the link in the description for our free webinar.